A straight girl answers a newspaper ad from a woman looking for a woman because the other girl has quoted her favorite poet genius. Or madness. We'll see music. We begin the story. In a Jewish church, Jessica is there with her family who are trying to marry her off to anyone terrible, and on top of it, all poor Jessica has a very demanding job. She's a newspaper editor in New York, and she's super stressed out. And that's not the only thing. Her brother is getting married. Her best friend is having a baby. Everyone has someone but her, so she goes on a bunch of blind dates, horrible blind dates. All right, worse than horrible. Meanwhile, in another part of town, is Helen. She works in an art gallery. She's content with her job, but bored with her boyfriend. One night, she half flirts with a girl at the gallery, and later meets her friends for dinner, friends who advise her to experiment with a girl. So she decides to do just that and places an ad in the newspaper. Weird, I don't know. Maybe that's how they used to flirt in the 2000s. So her friend helps her write the ad with a quote from the poet Reach, and this ad reaches the newspaper where Jessica works, and as Reach is her favorite poet, she thinks that's it. I'm marrying him, okay. Oh, that's women seeking women. Jessica decides to take another look at the ad because, come on, she seemed to have found a fine soul. Later that night, there was Helen working and getting a lot of strange messages for her ad in the paper, messages from very strange guys, but no girls. On the other hand, Jessica was going around having more dates arranged by her mother. My God, the situation is critical. And back to Helen. She was meditating when she got a message from a girl, but the girl was crying and desperate. So yeah, that's not gonna happen. One night, Jessica goes out to dinner with her family who are trying to hook her up with another guy. But when that doesn't go well, this guy tells her that the problem isn't the boys. The problem is her. The next day, Jessica set up a date with Helen, and she almost regrets it, but Helen had already seen her, so she goes out on a date. Well, no, Jessica regrets it, apologizes, and runs away. But just as she was about to run away, Helen catches up with her. Jessica slaps her down, telling her that the whole date thing was a mistake. But Helen has a trick up her sleeve. She dumps the entire contents of her purse on the floor, and while Jessica helps her pick it up, they get to talking, and she convinces her to go for a drink with her. A drink, it sounds like a lie to me too. And the girls have a great time, but hey, as friends. And when Jessica wants to realize it, she's already in a very romantic restaurant having dinner with Helen, and then a walk around the city with an ice cream, and everything was going great, but they end up arguing about their expectations in life. Finally, Helen kisses Jessica and leaves the next day. Jessica was happy at work. They're almost dancing and singing, happier and more productive too. And that night, she has a date with Helen at her apartment, a date where a very nervous Jessica shows up with exhaustive research on girl-on-girl relationships, and Helen is already like, okay, but what do I do? Finally, Helen convinces her to put the encyclopedia away and just enjoy their date that goes very well. Jessica asks to take it easy, and off they go. They take it slow, but they still go on dates. Helen is falling in love with Jessica and is a little desperate that their relationship isn't progressing faster. They're taking it very, very slow, and meanwhile, Jessica is happier these days at work. She's smiling all over the place when she gets texts her boss. Josh asks her what she's up to, if she's seeing anyone, but she goes from the question and leaves. One night, the girls have a date at the movies, and when they leave, they pass by Jessica's work, who has to look for something, and they just happen to run into Josh, Jessica's boss. She quickly tells him that Helen is a friend from the gym, and that's not the omelet why thing. Apparently, Jessica was having an affair with this Josh guy, but that didn't go well anyway. The girls continue their date and go out to dinner. While they were there, some guys tried to hit on them, but Helen was more busy groping Jessica under the table, so they blow them off and go to Helen's apartment. Music, come on, someone was knocking on the door, a friend of Helen's that she used to hook up with. So Jessica says, well, okay, we can be friends, and runs out of the apartment. We're the worst date ever anyway. No time or mood for romance at the moment. Poor Helen is super sick. Luckily, she has Jessica to take care of her, and meanwhile at work, Josh has been flirting with Helen, and Helen is still courting the girl too. She sent her flowers to thank her for taking care of her while she was sick, and she was going to pick her up outside of work. But Jessica was just going out to dinner with her family, so she ends up taking Helen as a friend. And Jessica's mom, is she such a matchmaker since she knew Jessica was taking a friend out to dinner. She set up a date for the two of them, the sparse-haired IT guy for Jessica, and Josh is Helen's date. Crazy dinner party. 3 people at that table want to hit on Jessica, and it gets better and better. Jessica's mom gets along great with Helen, and she asks her to help her daughter hook up with the IT guy that he's the one. That night after dinner, right after dinner, a storm starts, so no one can go home, and they get everyone settled in for the night. Helen and Jessica in the same room. No problem, we'll be okay. The girls were sharing a room, and surprisingly, it's Jessica who starts it all. Unfortunately, it all happens off camera. 3 months later, Jessica is doing well. Everything is fine with Helen. All good at work. She's very happy. The ones who are not happy are Helen's friends. The same friends what O convinced her to place the ad in the newspaper. This guy thinks it's all going to end very, very badly. And to this guy it looks promising, we'll see. But Helen has other problems with Jessica bed problems that she decided to discuss just as they were shopping. But they don't talk about it because just then, a co-worker of Jessica's arrives that's uncomfortable. Jessica first tries to say they are just friends, but in the end, she decides to tell her friend the truth afry. End, who is a gossip and wants all the details. Moving on to other topics, Jessica's brother's wedding is coming up, so they are trying on dresses, and you saw that Jessica's mother adores Helen. Well, she invites her to lunch with her, after the dress fitting all well, and good, what's not fine is that Jessica didn't tell Helen about her brother's wedding, and she didn't tell her because she doesn't want to invite her. The girls start a terrible argument. Jessica's mother doesn't understand anything, because of course, since she doesn't know they're dating, she thinks they're just friends. And back to the girls, Helen is very hurt because she's in love with Jessica. She's putting everything into the relationship and Jessica, well, not so much good. What do you want from me? So Helen asked her to take her date to the wedding, but Jessica tells her no way. Finally, they've broken up. Helen is comforted by her friend. Jessica is also out there depressed, but she doesn't have a friend to comfort her because nobody knows. I mean, only one friend knows, but since she just had her baby, she is not available, so Jessica is alone. One night, Helen was in the gallery when Josh shows up with flowers. For Jessica, there is an art exhibition, and Jessica exhibited a painting. Helen and Josh are over there looking at her painting, but Jessica is not there because that night is her brother's engagement dinner. Lala. Jessica loves art, loves to paint, but she works as an editor because that pays the bills. And speaking of Jessica, she walks out of her brother's dinner because she's depressed, and she couldn't stand the festive mood of the event. Her mother comes out to talk to her, and she tells her that these months she has seen her happier than ever, and she also tells her that Helen is a wonderful girl. Moms know everything. That night, Jessica is going to get her girl back, and she takes her as her date to the wedding. And while Jessica's family adores Helen, oh thank God, and while she was there with all the aunts, Josh appears and asks Jessica to speak to her in private. He declares his love for her and kisses her, but Jessica tells him, look, that's not going to happen. And just at that moment, Helen appears. She is tired of entertaining the aunts, and she's gone looking for her girl. Oh, the love, and now everything is going well. The girls have decided to move in together. Jessica is working in her art. They spend Christmas together, meet each other's friends, and everything is fine. Well, no, because girls keep having problems in bed. And they continue like this for a while. But finally, Helen decides that this relationship is over. Helen says that Jessica loves her more as a best friend than a girlfriend, and that she can't do that, so it's over. Jessica begs her, crying not to go, but Helen leaves anyway. A year later, Jessica is fully working on art and find a partner to share an art studio with, so she's posting ads around there. And while she was at it, she runs into Josh. She tells him that she and Helen broke up, and now they are friends. And speaking of Helen, she has another girlfriend. She's living with her, and she is very much in love, and with Jessica and Helen meeting for coffee. Finish this story and see you in the next video. Bye.